Hello, welcome to What in the Mystical Hell podcast. I'm your host, Nikki Jobin. On today's episode, we actually have a very special thing happening. I would like to welcome our brand new co-host, Lauren Aviance, to the show. Lauren has been my longtime friend and a practitioner in her own right for many years. Welcome, Lauren.
Hi, thank you. Hello, everyone out there.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my background is in mixed ideology. I come from a multi-religious family. I have Muslim, Jewish, Christian, and Native American and African in my family grouping where I grew up. The majority of the people I grew up around are Black. I grew up in Washington, D.C., and so that was a strong influence on the person that I am today. I started, as many of us do, I started with Wiccan. I was duly excised from the Wiccan community in short order.
I can only imagine why.
Yeah, so don't ask too many questions is the way I took that message. And I, through short discoveries, like I practiced Judaism, I practiced Islam, I practiced Catholicism, I practiced Protestantism, Methodist, and none of that was working for me. And my mother, being of Native American origin, finally took me to my first powwow when I was 16 years old. And I walked through the door. I'd always been curious, but I walked through the door and I just found this breadth of community that incorporated tradition and spirituality in a way that I understood it. I didn't know then how much more influential it would become, but I also had grown up around people who practiced voodoo or hoodoo, and the great grand tradition of African storytelling is one thing I grew up with. So things like an Anansi, which is the spider god, the Caribbean, a lot of Caribbean influence. So that all contributed to how I perceive the world and how I perceive magic in general, how I perceive spirituality overall. And now, today, what I practice is I practice what could be referred to as practical magic. I know you love the movie, so
That's definitely one of my movies. But we were talking about this before we actually started recording. Is that day to day?
Yeah.
That how do you manage to just make your magic fit into your life?
Yeah, and that looking at it in a practical way, a pragmatic way, as it being real, as opposed to, like I said earlier, bare-breasted with a cauldron in the woods, chanting some obscure thing that we don't know what it means. I don't necessarily think that is what magic or spiritual practice should be. I think it should be just as tangible as this desk. It should be just as real as anything you deal with. You're in your car, you're frustrated. How do you deal with that? You apply
lots of curse words. That's how I might not be the best person to ask that.
But you can apply a form of prayer or a form of reaching out to the spiritual world to help you get through.
I actually do have a little spell that I say when I'm stuck in traffic to kind of help it start moving along. And you're only supposed to say it like X amount of times, and I never can remember. So I'll say it what I think is a prescribed number of times, and then I'll stop, wait about 15 minutes, And then I'll say it again, just in case, like every time it slows down. And, you know, sometimes I sing it because, you know, it's playing along with whatever the song is in the car.
Mine is, I hope you die in a fiery car crash, but don't take anybody else with you.
That's not the spell I use, but you know, each their own.
That's, but stuff like that, things like that where it's helpful to you, you know, instead of doing all of the demonstrative, exhibitionist parts of faith practice, like witchcraft or magic or, gosh, I wish there was a better word for me, but spirituality, that a real connection between the tangible and the intangible that feels reasonable, that doesn't feel like something out of a movie script.
Yeah, what I try to stress in the past couple episodes that I've been talking about are, you know, some people definitely need all that ritual. They need to draw the circle. They need to call the corners. They need to, you know, have all those, what's the word I used, accoutrements to feel like they're in the right headspace. Mm-hmm. I'm not like that.
Yeah.
I am that meme that is like, you know, it shows like, this is what people think I do. And this is gorgeous woman down by the moon. And you know, what my friends think I do, what my family thinks I do. What I really do is my hair's all like crazy. Like I just rolled out of bed. I'm drinking a Coke and I'm lighting a candle, you know, on a cigarette or something going, please work, please work.
Right.
You know, but, you know, whatever works for you, it can be very simple. For me, a very simplistic approach that's really closer to what my day-to-day is works so much better for me than all the trappings. And I've been to full rituals, and honestly, for me, they leave me a little cold. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't feel the same connection that, you know, that I feel if I'm taking a hike through the woods and, you know, I'm just connecting with the life out there and just going, you know what, I wish that you would grow. Like, you know, here's some of my life energy, so you just grow and get strong.
Right.
Or, you know, when I'm cooking, you know, a big part of my, and I don't know that I would say that it's practice, but a big part of my connection is doing stuff for my family. Like I feel very connected when I'm cooking and creating food for the family, which is why so many of the harvest rituals speak to me, or, you know, harvest holidays speak to me as a person, because for me, it's about family and creating those bonds and being able to feed my family and putting my energy into that.
Right. I personally refrain from, this is not connected to what you specifically just said, but I refrain from casting, in the sense that I believe I can influence someone else's behavior or thoughts or feelings with some sort of magical energy. I think that the energy you put out into the world is part of what the energy you get back. And if you put, like, I don't think that things like love spells causes another person to fall in love with you.
Well, yeah, I won't do, even though I do sell love spells at the shop, they're very specifically worded when I'm creating them. Like or worded, rather, not worded, but they're very specifically worded when I'm creating them. That consent is a big thing. And my things for love, protection, money, they are designed to put the right energies around you to get you to your goal. Right. But that goal should never be like a specific, in the case of love spells, a specific person.
Right. Like, we both grew up through the pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of how I look at things, but I have also developed a softness in the sense that I believe that a power greater than us can help us pull those bootstraps up, but the least we can do is put the shoes on, get the boots on. So if we're not willing to do some of the lifting, there's no reason why any other entity should do most of the work for us.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think that idea of casting a spell is is part of that mythology of what a witch does.
That's fair. Excuse me. I think that I did, when I first started out with that, I had this very idealized fantasy version of and of course I was a teenager, of what witchcraft was, of what, that witches were with covens and what that looked like and those rituals look like and what, spells really entail. And now I see it as more of a, when I'm a solitary, sometimes I do workings with other people, but I don't have a coven or anything like that because I don't necessarily work well with others, which you well know from having actually worked with me at a job.
Right.
But I feel more like it's, and I don't think manipulating is the right word, but it's the word that I'm going to use right now because it's the closest to what I'm feeling like I'm trying to convey is, manipulating those, like if you look at, quantum physics and those wavelengths, the energies are in wavelengths. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of moving those energies the way that you would like them to go. Like I can't force them to go that way, but it's like, hey, I would love it if you kind of swooped over here and helped me out. Do me a solid. And that's literally how I talk to deity and how I talk to other things that I work with. I'm like, hey, if you do me a solid, like maybe I can do a solid for you.
Right.
Like, can we work this out? Can we figure this out? And I see it when I think about magic now. I think about it in more of that like scientific kind of like the wavelengths. How sometimes like sound waves go, they're bigger or they're smaller. And I think about things like that. Like I think about things like a sweet jar is that kind of long wave that just comes up and down and it's very slow and it's not in a hurry because like you want something sweet to happen, but that that's not going to happen overnight, that it takes a little time.
Right.
Whereas I think about chaos magic and maybe baneful magic as those tight lines that just pop up and down really harshly. Mm-hmm. Because what you are trying to make happen is, it is baneful magic. It's called baneful magic for a reason. But sometimes I think that it's necessary.
Sure.
And you just said that you don't feel necessarily like magic can change the will of another, or you don't cast for that reason.
Right.
And I don't usually cast with a specific person or goal, like I want this person to do that. But I'm not going to lie and say that I've never done a hex on someone.
Sure.
But I mean, not for any reason. And honestly, if someone wants to hire me to do a hex on someone else, I do one of two things. I always am, I really investigate beyond what they have told me to see if it's warranted. But I also have something in there that if this particular person doesn't deserve what's happening to them, like nothing's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Even if that means that, like my client says, hey, this didn't work.
Right. Right. And I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. Sound waves, the wave patterns of energy are similar. That's, I like that visual added with it. So the bottom line of my faith practices is it's sort of a hodgepodge. Mm-hmm. And I even take things from Christianity at this point, which I didn't used to. I used to dig my heels in about it. But now it's so easy to transpose one God, one spirit, one idea, one concept. I don't think that in inception these things are bad. I think they're utilized to be bad. Mm-hmm. And to hurt people. Like Catholicism has been used to hurt people by bad people. Mm-hmm. But I see it as more integral. I've incorporated it more into my faith practice now because it's so pervasive. It's hard to get away from.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of an overview of who I am and what I do, and I consider the way that we met. We worked together.
Yeah, I was. That's so funny that you say that because I was just actually thinking, like when I first met you, like with some of the conversations that we've had since then, like, I never would have called any of that. I never would have pegged you as a practitioner at all, actually. Right. I don't think I really thought about it. So for those of you in the listening audience that don't actually know Lauren and myself personally, we work together at the bar that I work at in San Francisco. That is, I don't know, do I mention the name? We'll give them... I mean, most of the listeners here know where I work.
Right.
So, Martuni's Piano Bar in San Francisco. Lauren used to work there with me, and in the past, what has it been? Okay, it's been a couple of years since you've...
It's been a year and a half.
A year and a half, yeah. Mm-hmm. So now Lauren is full-time at a bar in Oakland that's closer to home for you.
Yeah.
Heinald's First Last Chance Saloon, which I had the opportunity to visit a couple weeks ago. Right. And it's very cool. Very different than what I imagined.
Yeah.
But it's a really cute bar until Lauren plays tricks on you, which fortunately did not happen to me, but I saw it happen.
That's one of the fun jokes that people say, oh, are there spirits here? I say, no, there's no room. Place is too small to have ghosts.
I know, but it's kind of cool. You walk in and you really sloped it. Like I know that I had been told that the bar kind of sloped, but I don't know what I thought that meant.
Well, when we first met, I definitely did not talk about it. And I credit my friendship with you to being much more open about it. It just, where the background that I come from, you don't talk about any of your practices. It's kept clandestine because it's considered dangerous as people are killed for this. Mm-hmm. And so I was raised very much with the attitude that you practice it, you don't preach it. And, it, like I said, people have been killed, and I'm not just talking about, witches in Salem. I'm talking about in the voodoo practices, people have been put to death in the voodoo culture. People have been put to death in Native American culture for practicing their faith and not practicing Christianity. And this is where my background of, not being involving Christianity in my faith practices comes from, is because of a healthy fear of how Christianity has persecuted those of us who don't practice Christianity.
I mean, I think that we've all heard, like, through learning history and everything else about how, in the South, the two religions, like the Christianity that the colonizers tried to put upon, the Afro-Caribbean people that they were dealing with, and their own cultures kind of melded into a little bit. Now, is that voodoo or is that hoodoo? I'm not 100%. Like, I wrote something at one point where I'd written down the difference, but I don't really understand the difference between hoodoo and voodoo. Are they the same thing?
No, I believe that voodoo specifically is the Afro-Caribbean connection that comes directly from Afro-Cuban. Hoodoo, to me, is an American-grown faith practice that has very similar things, many similar rituals, but it's a little bit 100% native to the country as opposed to being African in specific origin.
Yeah. Well, because I know, like, things like Santeria, they there are some bits and pieces of Catholicism in there, but there's also the brujeria that came with the peoples before the colonizers came in and started to convert them to Christianity. So I kind of imagined that it was something like that. Just not really, but beyond, I think, what we all see in the movies, oh, let me get a voodoo doll.
Yeah.
I wish I got a voodoo doll and then I slide her down to be skinny. Rub some oil on her back.
Just to feel better?
Just to feel better.
I get it.
Yeah, so when you and I met, like, I wouldn't say that we were friends right away.
No.
We, and it wasn't that we disliked each other either. We were just kind of like,
We both have alpha female tendencies.
But what I liked about you is that, like, you felt very comfortable, being straight with me and telling me, hey, this is the way I like to be approached.
Yeah.
This is the way, this is the best way to get me on the same page with you. And I think it kind of built from there. And, since then we've had weird experiences that we'll talk about a little bit later in the episode. But our friendship has slowly but surely grown. And to now where you have not only are you co-hosting here, but you've guest hosted on my vidcast for Golden Apple Metaphysical.
Yeah.
And those were some great and hysterical conversations.
Yeah.
So that is part of the reason why I asked you to come be my co-host. One of the other reasons is that when we have our conversations, it gets free-flowing. It's not like, we don't necessarily, we have differing points of view sometimes, but we don't argue about it. It's not like, you're wrong. It's really like, oh, okay, that's something I never actually thought about.
Right.
And some of the things that you've said to me, I really, it's not that I get stumped, but I'm really like, holy shit, I really never saw that perspective before, but wow.
Yeah.
And then I was looking, when we started talking about this, I looked back at some of the videos where you co-hosted with me, and I was like, maybe, in the moment you're just going with it and you're not necessarily, you're listening, but you're not listening. And then I was able to listen to it afterwards, the playback, and going, holy shit, I really never realized a lot of this stuff about Lauren.
Oh.
And we had talked about, I think one of them, the first one we did might have been right around Halloween. Mm-hmm. And we talked about some different stuff to do on Samhain or Halloween and for the Day of the Dead. And then, I don't know, we talked about all kinds of, I think the second episode we talked about pagan dating.
Yes.
Which is just, just dating is weird whether you're a witch or a Catholic or
right.
You're a pink polka dotted horse, and then we went on a road trip not too long ago, and my favorite, I actually talked about this in one of the last episodes, not the last episode I did, but the one before that, episode 5. I talked about when we were in Sedona, and you had that rock that you picked up that was vibrating in your hand. It vibrated for you, it vibrated for Christine, put it in my hand, didn't do shit. I was like, what the fuck? And because I think our theory at the time was because that place was really strongly had indigenous energy to it.
Right.
And that's not something that's my wheelhouse.
Right.
Not to say that it couldn't ever be, but it's not vibrating with me right now.
Do you remember the divining rods?
Yes, those actually worked for me.
Yeah.
I still have them. They're actually, they're right here.
Well, the divining rods were done to say if I could take the rock with me. Mm-hmm. And I still have it today.
Oh, awesome.
So it was, I think it was, I can't remember if you or Christine were holding them, but one of you was holding them, and the question was, can Nikki take anything from here? No.
Oh, yeah, that was actually, I was holding them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we asked if you could, and it said yes.
Yes, said no to everybody but me.
Yeah, and it sounds really funny to like when you're listening to us talk about it, but literally you could see her hand is not moving. I wish we had a video of it. Right. Her hand is not moving, but this rock is moving, and I've never seen anything like that before in my life.
And my whole hand and arm were vibrating when I was carrying it.
That was really cool, but I held it, didn't feel a damn thing. But then we went to Joshua Tree, and I had a much different energetic experience there.
It's beautiful there.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous, and we were able to be there at night, and it was a full moon.
Yeah.
And it was actually Christine's birthday, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my energy experience there was so much different. It was like complete, 180, the exact opposite of the experience I had in Sedona, though I thought Sedona was beautiful. Yeah. I just didn't feel that energy.
Yeah.
In that particular canyon.
Right.
Because we only got to experience one.
So that could have easily been one of the vortex areas because we were supposed to be close to it, right?
Yeah, well, I think we were at Boynton Vista.
Is that in Joshua?
That was in Sedona.
That was in Sedona. Okay.
Yeah. There were a couple other that we wanted to visit, but we didn't get to, we didn't have enough time.
But the one thing that I thought was significantly unique about the Joshua Tree experience was how clear everything was visually. You could see everything, every detail on the rocks, the trees. It was like it was daylight, and it was strange. I've taken pictures from that night, and they're so crystal clear. It's like
how
daytime.
funny. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it was definitely, I would go back to either one.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. But I think, looking at those experiences and how from one place to the next, they were slightly different, kind of talks about how you do have different experiences when you have your different practices.
Absolutely.
I also have a hodgepodge, but it's a hodgepodge of, I think a little bit of hedge witch, a little bit of kitchen witch,
right,
a little bit of chaos,
yeah,
a little bit of, we know I work with infernals. And also, I'm exploring more my Celtic heritage. And I'm working with like, I have Hecate here. I have, who else do I have in the house? I have Hestia, who's actually a Greek goddess. I have Lilith, but I'm also like starting to forge a relationship with Morgan, who is part of my Celtic roots. But it's not any one path that I'm on as well. It's the bits and pieces that speak to me. And I think that that's really important to know yourself as a practitioner and know when, like, if you're doing something, even if you're with a coven and they're like, this practice is the way that it should work. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't feel right, that's something speaking to you.
Right.
For years and years, I just thought I was doing everything wrong. Because I'd talk to other witches and they'd be like, oh, my coven, we just had this beautiful ritual and, we had a bonfire in this meadow and everything was magical. And they tell these stories and in my brain, I'm completely have this fantastical view of what's going on. And there's like, the smoke is in purple glittery spirals and it's just very beautiful and magical. And I don't know, there's pixie dust in the air. I don't know.
Like I said, I was duly excised from Wiccan community quickly. Because, you sit there and you go... apparently just my sexuality was a question enough. And like I said, we all know that fat white girl who wears all black and wears the black and purple striped socks and has this skinny dorky boyfriend or girlfriend and has her hair colored cherry pink and carries a staff with her or something, and then
staff
calls herself a witch. Mm-hmm. And then is if she's always the priestess. She's never just one of the minions. This whole place is just overrun by witch priestesses.
Yeah, right. It's the same thing. Like, having that I think as a young person starting out, when I started reading books, my very first book was Raymond Buckland. Mm-hmm. And then from what I'd seen in movies, and then, like I said, when I was talking to other practitioners, they just were telling me these tales of things that I was like, I've never experienced anything like that.
Right.
And I didn't really work well with others. Because just, not to say that they were bad or anything that they were doing was bad, but for me, it was just wrong. So my analogy for why Wicca didn't work out for me, it's like, you have this sweater, it's a great sweater, it's a great cut, it's a great color. You feel it and the material feels great and it's the right size, you throw it on and you start to itch. Mm-hmm. So it's not that there's anything fundamentally wrong with the sweater. It just, it made me itchy.
Right.
So I couldn't wear it.
Right.
So, I stayed along my happy, crappy little solitary thing thinking for a long time that, I must not be doing it right. Like, and then I'd hear all these people talk about the covens that they were in and they were this first initiate or second degree. And, here I am, this person just doing little quote unquote magic tricks in my house, and I'd had all these amazing experiences when I was a child that I remembered that, adults told me couldn't be true. Mm-hmm. And so you really start to doubt yourself. And it's not until I think time and wisdom and experience come to tell you that you just hadn't found your path yet. You hadn't found your way to go. And it took me a little bit to do that. Mm-hmm. You know, I've been practicing witch over 30 years.
Right on.
You know, but doubting myself a good portion of that and just wondering, you know, am I doing it wrong? Mm-hmm. Because everybody's experience sounded different than me. Everybody was like, no, you have to put up a circle. I didn't put up a circle when I went to do things.
Right.
No, you know, you have to call in the elements. I've worked with elements together and separately. You know, well, no, you can only call quote unquote good things. Well, you know what? Some of us are drawn to the darker things. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Dark doesn't necessarily mean evil.
Right.
And I've come across things that are considered good that leave me cold, leave me screaming.
Yeah.
You know, that I'm like, ooh, no, thank you, sir. I am going to just mosey my way back down the road.
Right.
But, you know, hearing your experiences and knowing that here's someone else that while we're not on the same path, the way you got to your path was similar to mine, and it wasn't this picture perfect thing that you see in the movies.
No, it was very clumsy.
Like this witch finds a family book and all of a sudden she's got all these crazy powers. And well, I knew I'm not going to wiggle my nose like Samantha and the house is going to be clean. I wish, you know, that there is a magic to things. I've had experiences where I'm just sitting at home and I'd be like, fuck, I wish this such and such would happen. And then it happens. And it wasn't even me trying to do anything. It was just me being like, could this please happen?
Right. Right. Well, for me, there are things that are in the Native culture that I haven't experienced, and probably with good chances I won't. Mm-hmm. Like, it's doubtful I'll do anything like a sweat lodge. Mm-hmm. First of all, the majority of them are done. The majority of the ones that get done now are done in the white culture. Mm. Sort of reappropriated. Mm. And are done in Arizona for some reason, probably because it gets hot.
I know. I'm like, why would... I mean, I get it. It's hot, but then you want to add a sweat lodge on top of that. Ooh.
Arizona's become a place of a lot of spiritual, ritualistic behaviors, like the ayahuasca trend that's happening now, which I have no interest in, but it's, you know, it's a lot of people from Europe who are doing these ayahuasca retreat things. So I have done a vision quest at one point in my life. Mm-hmm. It's where I received my spiritual guide or spiritual animal. My family is from Puma Clan or Blue Clan. Anissa Honi is the clan of my tribe.
Okay.
So that's what we are, is Puma or Blue. And because I didn't grow up in the Native American culture, it's all been learned and it's all been collected and pieced together. Some things that I do are, not smudging or saging. I do sweetgrass cleansing. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we used growing up. It's what I've always used. I had never really done sage because it's just not part of our culture. We're not Midwestern or Western Native people. So, mm-hmm. you know, you use what's available.
Yeah.
And it wasn't sage. So, like, sagebrushes are Western plant.
No, I grew up in California in the 80s and 90s when New Age was really taking off. So, you know, we all had our little crystals and sage wands. But then I realized a couple things. Sage makes me cough. Right? I don't know what that says about me personally, that sage makes me cough. But I prefer, if I'm going to use incense to cleanse the house, I like frankincense or sandalwood. Mm-hmm. Myrrh makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
But I also like rosemary.
Right on.
Yeah, I love, I have around here somewhere, I have a rosemary smudge stick or smoke. I don't know what they're called.
Oh, yeah.
My brain is not working right now. But I just got another one from the house, and it smells fantastic when you burn it. And rosemary is a really protective herb. There are so many other things that you can use.
Absolutely.
Besides this one thing that everyone seems to know.
Yeah. You make a sweetgrass whip and basically whip yourself with it while
Kinky.
it's on fire.
That's really kinky.
You know, it's the Bay Area. What are you gonna do?
It is the Bay Area. I'm surprised that there's not a workshop for that at Folsom.
Oh boy. Little Dory Alley for you.
There you go. I don't know. I had questions, and we really outlined what we were going to talk about. And now we just started talking about Folsom and Dory Alley, and that's all it just gone from my head. We're whipping ourselves with sweetgrass. Okay.
It's not whipping.
I know.
It's...
I know. It was just a fun visual.
Yeah.
Because really, how long can you get those things, right?
I mean, they can't really stay alight if you're just constantly whipping.
Yeah. Eventually, they're going to blow out. But I'm excited to explore in the next episodes, like the different practices that we each use for things like warding and cleansing. Mm-hmm. Or just, the things that we've talked about in the past, like when we put up altars around the time of remembrance for the ancestors. Because those are all a little different. But honestly, with all of your religious background, like your altar must be like a banquet table.
I have C plus B plus M over all of my windows and doors. Mm-hmm. It's CMB, Shadrach, Meshach, and Bendigo. And those are the three wise men or the three magi from the Bible who came to Jesus and brought the frankincense and myrrh and gold. And it's over every door to ward my house. Over every door, every window to ward my house.
Yeah, see, I actually have a rune on all my doors and windows and mirrors to protect the house. So a Norse rune, which is my husband's practice. Well, is his what he believes in, rather than me. But I also have warding on an energetic level too. Mm-hmm.
What are the runes done in?
I use holy oil.
Ours are white chalk.
Yeah. Well, if I'm somewhere, like if I'm, I don't know. Well, I mean, honestly, like who's going to try and break my word and come after me, right? I'm nobody but some weird person talking on a podcast right now. But if I'm at a hotel and I'm warding the room that I'm in, let's say if I'm at a convention or something, I always try to prick my finger. And if I don't bleed, I know that I don't need to bleed. But if I do bleed, that means put a little bit of extra warding and some type of bodily fluid. Just for that little extra punch. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people out there that don't use bodily fluids for stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Some people that do, some people that use way more bodily fluids than I do in their magics. But it's interesting to have those different points of view of what you work with and what you don't.
You're talking leaving bodily fluids in hotels.
Oh, please. I'm sure that you've left your share of bodily fluid in a hotel, and it hasn't been for warding.
Likewise, sister.
And I remember every single time.
Ew.
But not always, because I don't always bleed, right? I'm really glad the witch's hammer isn't in practice anymore. They poked her and she didn't bleed. She must be a witch.
We're degrading.
We're degrading. What's back on track? What are we talking about? Our shared experiences. Okay, so we talked a little bit about what happened in Sedona and Joshua Tree, but even before that, before we even started talking about witchcraft, like we had our own little weird experiences when we worked together.
Yes.
So there's one night that Lauren and I are, we've closed up the bar. We're doing our paperwork, counting up the money. And all of a sudden there's this banging in the ceiling. Like we literally thought someone was trying to come. I swear to God, Jason Voorhees was pounding with an axe trying to get through the ceiling to get us.
I thought somebody was coming through the wall. It was that intense and loud.
Yeah. And so, you know, we're going in the office trying to hear stuff. We don't hear anything in the office. We don't hear anything in the back. It's just in the piano room.
And it's an all concrete shell, which is what's crazy.
Yeah.
There's it's a concrete ceiling. It's a concrete shell. Where that noise came from is beyond me.
Yeah. It was probably the crazy guy upstairs.
Yeah, but it was freaky.
Yeah. Who later apologized to me.
Did he?
Yeah, I might have. It wasn't baneful magic, but I did do something to make him stop. And then before he ended up finally leaving, he apologized to me, which was very weird. But I wasn't like, yeah, you're a dick. You know, I was like, thank you for coming down and apologizing. I'm sure that, you know what, some of the decisions I made weren't great either. So, like, I offer you my apology as well. And we shook hands and parted on decent terms, which, you know, all things considered, this guy was nuts. He used to throw things at people from his window because he hated living above a bar, but he was, you know, certifiable.
Amongst other things.
Yeah.
High and certifiable.
Oh, yeah, high and certifiable. I still think that he's the one that broke my mirror on my truck, or my window on my truck, because nobody stole anything out of there, and there was just, like, this perfect hole of, like, a pipe or something.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, we had some experiences there.
Some of them were, I don't know if we can even talk about.
Probably for the best that we don't. They're extremely funny, but probably not good for a public forum.
Right.
I will say that in our little corner of San Francisco, our little portion of San Francisco, we get to see people that, beyond, yes, there are substance abuse problems, there are mental health issues, but we also see people that are being ridden by some energy out there.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that is not them in the driver's seat.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
It's the night that the guy was hanging from the lamppost with no pants on. And we called the cops because we were...
I just thought it was a really enthusiastic date for you, Laura.
we were stuck inside.
Oh, yeah, we could... Oh, God, I remember that.
Yeah, we were stuck completely inside and couldn't get out because
he was just right there.
He was right there.
Yeah, I didn't...
Pants off, dance off.
Yeah. Beyond that, we've had funny characters. The person that was dancing with the traffic flags.
Yeah. The traffic flags that were good for something.
Yeah.
And then he just walked off with them.
Yeah. Totally took... I don't know what they were there for, but yeah, I totally...
He was flag dancing right outside the bar.
Yeah. It was great. We've had some... we have had some characters. But sometimes I look at these poor souls and I'm like...
What has gotten hold of you?
Yeah, and I want to help these people, but then I'm like, I don't, you know, either it's really late at night and we're getting ready to leave, or like I can't break away from what I'm doing in the moment to give them the time that they need to be able to do this.
Yeah, they're beyond. Some of them are way beyond.
Yeah.
Any kind of practical magic.
Yeah. But I literally, oh gosh, I don't remember what their name was, but it was one of our street people that had been around, one of our regulars, and he, you know, they always say kind of crazy, wacky things to you, but came up to me, and he was like, "I see the dark shadow that follows you," and I was like, you know, I know it's there. I'm trying to protect you from it, and you know, and part of that could have been the psychosis that was going on.
Yeah.
But part of it was there is a black thing that follows me.
Right.
You know, I mean, they don't know it's a good thing for me.
Right.
But I was just kind of like, you know what, I appreciate that. I appreciate you looking out. And it's just those small ways that we connect. Mm-hmm. And that our energies touch with other people.
And that could be the moment of lucidity for him.
Yeah. Even though it sounds like complete crazy to anyone that might be listening.
Right.
He got it and I got it.
Right.
You know? San Francisco is a funny place energy-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you have all the, the ocean coming in. You have different microclimates there. And there's a lot of really weird things that live in San Francisco.
People?
Things. Well, there's definitely weird people that live in San Francisco, but there's things. Non-corporeal things that live there, things that you don't catch until the middle of your eye. There's this great big, I swear it's a ferry portal in Golden Gate Park.
You told me about that.
Yeah. I won't go in it. It's basically in one of the groves in San Francisco. It is this giant tree trunk that you can literally walk into. Mm-hmm. And when I say it feels like you could be swallowed alive by it, that's what it really looks like. I won't go in there. I tell people it's because there's a lot of spider webs in there. And, that's partially it. But, I don't but I have sat on the top of it. Like on the part of the trunk that is still fully formed. Mm-hmm. And I did a moonlight meditation one night. And that was the night that all those coyotes came and they completely surrounded the stump that I was on. And I just kind of looked at the really big one that looked like the leader. I kind of looked at it and it looked at me and I just kind of nodded at it. And then they left. Like that was one of those cool things that only happen to you. Like, that's not happening on Market Street at 2 p.m.,
It happened on Valencia.
What remember was that night we saw the coyote? Yeah. We were driving, we were like, come here. Holy fucking us.
Well,
so I don't know. What are we going to look forward to on this season of episodes? What should we talk about in the next episodes coming up?
Oh my gosh. You want me to think on my feet?
Well, you're currently sitting. Does that help?
No, that's even stupider than my feet. It's even more stupid? One of those two.
Yeah, well, see, so we'll have to figure it out at some point. We've been, I think that this was a good first episode.
Absolutely.
Is there anything more you want to talk about? Because we'll talk all night.
I know.
We'll probably stop this recording and then talk for another 3 hours. And be like, oh man, we should have had that in the recording.
Yeah. Well, I think I definitely am down for some chocolate.
We have chocolate?
Okay.
We have chocolate. Which, as a side note, makes a great offering to various deities.
Hey, who doesn't like chocolate? Well, I guess I don't like chocolate, but I like chocolate.
You like chocolate. So if you like what you've heard this far on the episode, shoot us a line, send some comments on the Spotify there, or give us an email. I'm going to take this time to plug our social media and all our good things. So sorry, I have to scroll down for my last notes here. Let's see. I really have this. I had this stuff written down, and I don't know where the hell I put it, so I got to go look at another episode. If you have found this episode fun, I don't know how we're a little bit informative on this episode.
Sure.
But, we want to get your questions. We want to hear your stories. We want to get your comments. If you think we suck and should never do this again, well, first of all, fuck you. And because we're going to keep doing it because I think we're funny.
I think so too.
But if you like what you're hearing, find us on social media. We have a Facebook. We have an Instagram. There's even a TikTok, which I suck at making videos, but I'm trying to get better about that. If you'd like to support the podcast, we are attached to the Golden Apple Metaphysical Patreon. So you can sign up as a patron to access exclusive podcast content. So you might get weird little stories that we did not feel comfortable putting on the public episodes. But maybe we'll share those stories in a private podcast snippet. And there's other goodies. So you can find that at www.patreon.com/goldenapplemetaphysical. You'll also find all of this information and links in our show notes. If you want to see weird photos of Lauren while we're on vacation, we have a OnlyFans for that. No, I'm just kidding. If you could see the look on her face right now, she's looking at me like, what the fuck?
What did we do? Wait a minute, don't show those photos. All I'm thinking is El Cabezon, where the dinosaurs are, and I was like,
I do have good photos from there. I actually have that in my living room on my wall. One of those collages I did, I have those photos. I think you're gonna look forward to some really weird and fun stuff from us. We have a lot of stuff in common besides metaphysics. I think we both like paranormal stuff. I really want to start. I haven't done an episode yet on them, but I want to start talking about cryptids.
Right.
Have you ever seen a cryptid?
No.
No, me neither. I don't know. You have indigenous shit. Maybe you've seen what are those skinwalkers?
No.
I don't know. That would be cool though, right?
Maybe.
So when my daughter Noelle and Christine and I we drove to Oklahoma to go see a Leonard Skinner concert. I stayed in the hotel bar and drank with the bartender. But when they went to the concert, because there was only 2 tickets. But we had this crazy drive, and first of all, those are stories definitely for another episode, because driving through Texas is creepy sometimes. It's very creepy, especially at night. But we swore that when we were coming back through Nevada, we saw the same cat at 3 different gas stations, hundreds of miles apart. Like, it was the same fucking cat, and it kept trying to come up to us. I don't know what that cat was, but I don't think it was regular feline.
Riding your grill of the car.
Yeah. But stuff like that, little fun kind of cryptid stuff, weird stories. What's the weirdest thing that you've ever encountered or encountered is a good word during the course of your practice?
In my perception, I used to be visited by spirits when I was a kid. Not the most fun experience as a kid, because it's confusing. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I would get talking to entities. The best I can call it is ghosts.
Yeah. I had something like that, except I don't know necessarily that I thought they were kids, but they were like my friends. Like, my mom used to call them, like, when I wasn't with my friends from the neighborhood, like, I had other friends that I talked to and communicated with, and my mom used to always say, "Oh, Nikki and her imaginary friends." But to me, they were not imaginary. They were very, very real. I just didn't understand why my mom couldn't see them.
Right.
And, and it wasn't like, oh, I died and because my parents killed me or somewhere. It wasn't even like they were dead. It was like they were alive. Nobody else could see them but me. I don't know if I have any scary things. Like, definitely weird shit-o-meter things. But I don't know if I have anything necessarily, like,
that thing
scary.
Coming through the ceiling was
yes. But we don't necessarily know that was paranormal.
No, but
it was freaky.
Wasn't normal.
Let me tell you, I got more shit on the reality, quote-unquote, scale that's freaky that has happened than paranormal stuff.
Well, the paranormal was ghosts coming to visit me when I was a kid in my bed. Yeah. I did not like that.
Yeah. I guess, you're trying to sleep. I've tried to wake you up when you're asleep. It is not I don't know that it was a fun experience for them either.
I can get up and move. I'm just not awake.
You can get up and move, swing an axe at my head, but I'm just kidding. So yeah, I really bounced around with that. Let's give information about the social media and sound like we're going to wrap up, and then we go off on another tangent.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
Yep.
If you have comments, questions, cryptids you would like us to discuss, personal experiences, if you were visited by ghosts in your bed as a child and didn't like it, or maybe you did like it. Maybe you had tea parties at 3 a.m. I don't know.
Crazy.
Email us. We have an email at whatinthemysticalhell@gmail.com. I feel like we have the Facebook page for What in the Mystical Hell. You can also find us through Golden Apple Metaphysical, which is my online shop that I co-own with author Diana Rachel. And we have, cool little goodies on our website, in our Etsy. We have more cool little goodies coming up. But just, we would love some commentary. We'd love some questions. If you have a funny story, maybe we'll start doing weird mystical things that we see out in the world that we just want to talk about. But Lauren, I want to thank you for being here tonight and for joining the podcast. I'm so excited to see what we're going to do in the future.
Right on. I am too.
Yeah, this is, we always talk about weird shit anyway. We might as well record it and put it out on the internet.
Right.
All right, guys. Well, this has been another episode of What in the Mystical Hell podcast, where we are completely inappropriate at times. We like practical magic, and when things go bump in the night, we bump back. Take care. Say goodbye, Lauren.
Bye, Lauren.